I'm Clyde Lewis, and welcome to Ground Zero Behind the Scenes. Today, of course, we're talking about the shooting that happened in Aurora, Colorado. Of course, James Holmes, the man who was accused of killing 12 people and wounding some 70 or 80 more people. It's very fascinating when a crime takes on what I call esoteric overtones, or overtones of the occult. You know, I know a lot of other talk show hosts and a lot of other people will say it's a false flag event, but trust me, the bodies weren't even cold, and they were saying this. We're still looking into who might have trained this guy. He had $20,000 worth of ordnance that he was using, and also booby traps in his apartment. We know that this is pretty strange. The whole account of what happened is over the top, but as I said, there's meaningful coincidence in everything that happens with this case. What I'm looking at is I'm looking at the numbers, I'm looking at the words, I'm looking at the images, I'm looking at everything that has to do with this whole case, and I see this as some sort of act that takes place with something called the cosmic trickster. We're all subjected to the cosmic trickster. It's just another word for the devil, another word for Lucifer, another word for the guy who wants to play these jokes on us. We have to basically be subjected to this gallows humor that's going on, and irony that takes place within cases such as these. And as I said before, you're taking a look at it, you take a look at the case with how the numbers all fall together, how the images all fall together, and you're going to find that this case is a lot more sinister and creepy when you look at it from an occult perspective, and that's what we're going to try to do today on the show. First of all, I want to comment about the numbers that are associated with this case. So what we're going to do now is we're going to go to the graphic, and I'm going to point some things out to you.
I didn't hear he was coming to the northwest.
As we all know, the killer burst into the theater wearing a gas mask and unleashed tear gas in a torrent of indiscriminate gunfire. It happened at the Century 16 Theaters. It was cinema number 9, and it happened on July 20th, 7/20. Now, it happened 13 years after the Columbine shootings and 16 months after the Tucson shootings, where Congresswoman Gabrielle Giffords was wounded, and Chief Judge John Roll, of course, and 9-year-old Christina Taylor Greene was killed. Now, as I said before, let's take a look at some of these occult overtones. Let's look at the 9 sequences associated with the case. Now, we know that the number 9 is a well-known satanic number. In fact, Anton LaVey, the head of the Church of Satan, says that it's a satanic number. It's a number of marked death. It's about the forces of destruction. The number 9 means an end. Even Aleister Crowley said the same thing about the number 9. Well, no matter what is done through the most complex multiplication systems of the number 9, it ends the final equation with the number 9. So let's take a look at the 9 sequences. The shooting took place in theater number 9. Now, it happened on 7/20. If you take away the 0 from the equation, the numbers 7 and 2 add up to 9. It's also coincidental that one of the Dark Knight shooter victims, Alex Sullivan, was celebrating his 27th birthday. Of course, the 27 forms another 7 plus 2, that equals 9. In fact, there were 3 male victims that were age 27. We had James Sullivan, Matt McQuinn, and Navy sailor John Larimer. One of those guys, Matt McQuinn, actually threw himself in front of his girlfriend to take the bullets for her. So we've got a number 9, a number 9, and a number 9. It's kind of like that Beatles tune where you play it backwards. It says, "Turn me on, dead man. Turn me on, dead man." So consider for the moment that there's a satanic conspiracy going on, that something is happening that's just bizarre. If you take a look at the Dark Knight shooting and how it took place 16 months after the Gifford shooting in Tucson, and you take a look at the Century 16 cinemas in Aurora, Colorado, it happened 11 years after the attacks of September 11th. So if a century is 100 years old and we add 16, we get 116. That's 116. Take 116, turn it upside down, and you get 9/11. Now, at the Gabrielle Gifford shooting, Christina Taylor Greene was killed. Now, she was 9 years old when she died, and she was born on September 11th, 2001, or 9/11. So we see that the shooting in Colorado at the theater happened 13 years after Columbine. We all know the number's about 13. In fact, James Holmes, the shooter, was born December 13th, 1987. So we take a look at the 13 Illuminati number. Maybe it is a great leap to get into the rabbit hole, but as you can see, a lot of strange things are happening with this case. And you take a look at how the Drudge Report on Sunday threw this ad up that said, "Joker kills 12," and it had the Heath Ledger Joker saying, "Why so serious?" It was just really bizarre. You take a look at the apocalyptic images, everything that took place with this. I call it the nightmare, the trickster nightmare, the Luciferian ideal. Another thing to consider is that Aurora, the name of the city where this happened, Aurora, is like 9 miles from Denver, Colorado. It's 27 kilometers from the Denver airport. Now, if you recall, I did a show a while back about the Denver airport murals and how crazy they look and how strange they are. One of the murals shows a man in a gas mask, much like the killer in Aurora, a man in a gas mask with a gun and a knife, and he's attacking and killing all these children. And then later you see the graphic as they kill the man who was the man who did the shooting. The man with the gas mask is dead. And all these children are taking guns and they're turning them into plowshares, swords into plowshares, that whole metaphor. So you look at that, and also you look at what the Dark Knight means and Aurora means. It's kind of an interesting thing because you look at the Dark Knight, and let's talk about homonymous ways of looking at sentences. If you change the Dark Knight to read the Dark N-I-G-H-T as opposed to K-I-N-I-G-H-T, what you have is you have the Dark Knight Rises, and then you see Aurora. Now, what does Aurora mean? Well, Aurora is the goddess of light. She's the goddess of the new morning, the golden dawn. She is also in some way related to Venus, the star of the morning, Lucifer. So, the Dark Knight rises, and then comes the golden dawn, the change, the revision of all things, a new hope, hopefully. So you take a look at the Dark Knight rising, Aurora, and the new light that happens afterwards, or the new order, or whatever you want to call it, if that's what you want to believe. So you take a look at Aurora being the goddess of light, associated with Venus, the morning star, Lucifer. You see that, and you take something that's homonymous, such as the word night, and you change it to night, N-I-G-H-T. So you have the Dark Night rising, and then, after the darkest night rises and the nightmare is over, comes the new light, the golden dawn, Aurora. It's very weird the way all those names interchange, the numbers interchange, the esoteric dogma, everything that's there. Synchronicity is nothing more than meaningful coincidence. It's not scientific, it's more than random, and sometimes people like to say it's cognitive bias. Well, cognitive bias to what effect? I'm just mentioning these things to let you know that the trickster, the Joker, or whatever you want to call him, is an artist. He paints a tableau of a nightmare, and we have to decipher it and figure it out. It just goes to show you that things such as this have some sort of intelligence behind them, some sort of spiritual intelligence that you can't explain. And this is what I'm trying to show you today on this program. I'm Clyde Lewis, and you've been watching Ground Zero Behind the Scenes.